So if you want to turn with me to Acts 2, is where we're going to start beginning in Acts 2. But as I'm going through this and praying over what God would have me to say, the word community is an interesting word. It's the first part, com, meaning with, and unity, meaning unity. And I'm not trying to turn it into a grammar lesson, but it's good to know what our words mean. And there's a verse that came to mind just with the word. It's in Hebrews 10, 23 and 24. And it reads like this: "Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and good works." Verse 25, "Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching." And it's kind of a big deal, but you can't have community unless you're with someone else, or multiple people. And in today's America and across the world, there's a lot of people who like to think that, well, God and me, we got this. We can kind of handle things. And that's not the point of the Christian walk. It's not me and God and we can do this. It's me and God with other believers. That's the point of community. And even in Acts 2 is the beginning of the church after the day of Pentecost. And if you go down to verse 46 and 47, there's more there, and we'll talk about that a little later. It says, "Day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number, day by day, those who were being saved." Now, if you have a different translation, thinking specifically of the King James, it says, "And the Lord added to the church." And that brings up a good question. What does church mean? It comes from a Greek word, ecclesia, which means a calling out of. So in the Greek day, you could call a group of boys going horseback riding. That's a group of boys going out for a specific purpose. That would be a church. Sorry. A group of ladies going down to the river or over to the well to wash things. That could be considered a church. It's simply a group of people going for a specific purpose. And that kind of brings me to community, and I'm realizing that I'm stepping on Pastor Owen's toes a little bit, because next week he's talking about the church as well. But it's good to understand that the church isn't just somewhere we go on Sunday. It's not the building, it's the people here. It's all of us. We are the church. And wherever believers meet together, it is a church. And that's just kind of, most of you already know this, but it's good to remind ourselves of this. And that brings us to the next step. We have the church, our community, and what does this look like? How does this knowledge apply to what we do? And I'd like to have you turn over to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Nope, sorry. Going to remind myself where I was going. First Corinthians 12. That's right. Okay. I'm in the wrong book anyway. I apologize for my stumbling this morning. And in 1 Corinthians 12, he's talking about various gifts. And but down in verse 12, he starts comparing the Christians there to a body. And he says, "For even as the body is one and it has many members, and all the members of the body, though they are many, are one body, so also is Christ." And he goes on to explain that no matter where we come from, no matter what our profession may be, the belief in Christ brings us all together into one family for the most part. And in verse 15, he kind of takes this logical comparison to a ridiculous end. And he says, if the foot says, because I am not a hand, I am not a part of the body, is it not for this reason any less a part of the body? And if the ear says, because I am not an eye, I am not a part of the body, is it not for this reason any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where would be the hearing? And if the whole were hearing, where would the sense of smell be? Now God has placed the members, each one of them, in the body, just as he desired. And this conjures for me images of a giant eyeball rolling down the road. And in some cases, this is indicative of what our churches are. We all want to do the same thing. And for some, every church is different, and it's going to look different every place, but we all can't be evangelists. We all can't be pastors. We can't all be the music leader. And it's good to remember that God has given us each specific gifts, put in a specific place for a specific purpose. And we may not always know right away where he wants us to be, and yet he has a perfect design for his body, every piece where he put it. And that's just something to remember. Just something to, I'm lost again. Anyway, I'd like to have you look at your hand, pick a hand, and I want you to think about which finger on your hand is most important. For sake of analysis, I'm going to say my thumb. And now I want you to think about what could you do if you only had your thumb? Just your thumb, or whatever finger you chose. Your hand is a lot less useful now. Or even if you had the rest of them and missing that one, there still wouldn't be much you could do with it. And I know I'm beating a dead horse now, but it's the same idea that God has brought us all together so that we could do something more. And this kind of brings us to the next part. If we're together for a reason, what is the reason? And there's a verse in Hebrews 10, Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. It reads, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. This is the one I read already. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But we're together so that we can help each other grow for this. And that's going to look different for different people. For some of us, we need to be encouraged to step forward and use our gifts the way God intended us to use them. And for some of us, we need to be encouraged to maybe back off a little bit and think about the actions that we're taking and the steps that we've considered. For some of us, it's going to be an exhortation to boldness to say you need to start, speaking out and doing things in your area. And for some of us, it's maybe you need to consider how you can help someone that's right next to you. It's all of us together helping one another in the walk of Christ, growing together. And when we see that, it's exciting. We see our friend, our neighbor, the person sitting next to you taking a step of faith, or really coming to a new vision of who God is and what that means for them. And we want to see more of it. And it's cause for praise and thanksgiving in our lives. And it's encouragement for more growth. And this kind of brings us to the next step. Well, what happens if we just focus on growth in one another? If we take a box and we focus all the energy inside of it, scientifically, I'm a science nerd, scientifically there's only two things that can happen. One thing is that the box will disintegrate. Just fall apart. It can't handle all the energy. And the other one is that it will blow up. I like explosions. We've all seen explosions. But when a church explodes, we've all seen this. It's never pretty. What's left is a mess. Sometimes we get so focused on helping each other grow that we end up cutting each other to the point that we see each other as the problem. Sometimes we just need to have a little personal space. And with the box disintegrating, sometimes we see a church that has just become a social club, almost with a for members only tag on the door. And neither of those two ends are what God imagined for his body, what he's put us together here for. Both of these are bad outcomes for his church. And how do we fix this? How do we keep all the energy from going in? And this is the body doing more outside of it. This is reproducing itself. We take the energy that God has given us and that we share with each other to grow, and we reach out to others around us that may not know the Lord, that may be trying to be God and I, we can do this kind of attitude. And saying, hey, we have a great group. You can come learn with us. Or expanding and saying, here's the gospel of God. Here's what Christ has done for you. These, again, it's all going to look different and everywhere. Some churches are going to be supporting a list of missionaries that rolls out the door. Some of us are going to be working on campus and being with students almost every day of the week. It's going to look different for everybody. But we all need to be engaged. I want you to take a look at your hand again. It's a memory gimmick that I'm going to try to use here. You have a hand. It's part of your body. As part of Christ's body, what can you use your hand for to help build someone else up this week? And with your hand, what can you use it for to help reach another person with the gospel this week? Again, all of us are going to have a different opportunity, a different way to do this. And yet all of us should be looking for ways. It brings to mind the example of Jesus. He's traveling to Galilee, and the verse says he must needs go through Samaria. Jews of that day did not go through Samaria. It was considered a dirty place. They went around. It took a little longer, but they felt clean. Jesus said, no, I need to go through. And he met the woman at the well, and he shared the gospel with her. He made a way to the opportunity. Sometimes we're going to have to do that. Sometimes God's going to bring people into our lives, and it's going to be here's an opportunity. Sometimes he's going to say, well, where are you going to go? The point of Christian community is to help each other grow and to reach out to others. It's both and. It's not one or the other. And again, every place is going to look different. This place, Living Word, isn't going to look the same as somewhere in Mexico or Europe or anywhere else, or even across town. It's just not going to look the same because we're different parts of the body that God has put together in different places. But at the same time, if we're not helping each other grow and we're not helping each other reproduce, we're also getting something.